Yes, sir. What's up tempo gang, man? I'm your host, Dustin Smith. Got a special live edition, exclusive. Only the members are going to see this one. What's up, everybody, man? Do me a favor before we get started. Even though these are behind the paywall and they are the members only, hitting that like button helps. Hit that like button right now. Let me know in the chat if you can hear me and everything. I have been having some audio issues. So whenever I come on live, it helps me out a little bit. If y'all let me know if y'all can hear me. If not, then I have to mess with my settings. Blah, 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 blah. But listen, man, big day in Auburn. A basketball team taking on Georgia here in less than 2.5 hours. Very big basketball game for this team. Would be huge for Auburn to come out and win. I will have a post game reaction just for y'all. So stay on the lookout for that. Hopefully we get a win, man. I know that there's a lot going on the football side, and that's what we're here to talk about. But this would be a massive win for Stephen Pearl to start off SEC play. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, looks like I did not actually put this behind. Oh boy. All right. Well, I actually meant to make this members only and did not put it behind the paywall. Didn't save it that way. So this is going to be a public episode. So what's up, everybody? Welcome into the Up Tempo podcast. I'm not going to kick everybody out now. So we'll just do a live show that we weren't planning on doing. So yeah, like the video, sub to the channel. That's my mistake, but hey, here we'll do this damn thing, man. So as everybody knows, quarterback Byron Brown visiting today, and we all kind of expect a commitment soon. There was a lot of portal news. Yeah, I definitely deserve to get clowned clown for this. But for our members, listen, I will have some I'll have some exclusive stuff up for you guys a little bit later on in the day. We'll do the basketball stuff. We'll do some film breakdown. Yeah, I hit the wrong button. Jay Real says we got 8 visits coming this week. Says another Auburn podcaster. Yeah, I mean a lot, right? We've got the big tight end target coming in. Auburn's really going to have to rebuild in the trenches. I at least am going to edit my thumbnail real quick and take off the member only part of that and then re-upload that for the people that might be turned away by that. So we'll fix the thumbnail real quick. Working on the fly here. But yeah, listen, a lot of big visits. A lot of big visits expected. We know that Auburn has to rebuild in the trenches. The interior of the defensive line, going to be a massive rebuild there. I do like the young talent there, right, with Malik Autry and Crawford, who didn't play much this year. But still, I expect to see big things from him. We talk a lot on this show about not speeding up these guys, like speeding up their growth, right? Or just like Walker White's a good example of what I'm talking about. You see, Walker White has now entered the portal from Baylor. So this is a guy that I'm not trying to like single Walker White out. He's, by all accounts, he's a good kid, but this is a kid that needed to be developed. Now, picking Hugh Freeze as your QB coach and all that, probably not the best route to go. We know now in hindsight. But this is a guy that he really needed to be developed. He had all of the tools, but there was a lot of fundamentals that needed to be worked on. And then he goes to Auburn 1 year, transfers to Baylor 1 year. Now he's in the portal again. It's like, at what point what exactly is Walker White looking for? Is he stunning his own growth and his own development by changing systems, by changing schools every year? That's kind of the give and take of the portal. Cam Newton put out a video talking about that earlier this week, talking about how some of these guys are into the portal and all they're doing is stunting their growth. Now, again, that's, Cam Newton's a guy that went to Florida, Blinn, and then Auburn. So he definitely used transferring to his advantage. So every situation is a little bit different. But in this particular situation, we're going to talk about Byron Brown here, since this was the original topic of discussion. visiting Auburn, we expect a commitment to come soon. Obviously, for him not to commit to Auburn, there would have to be some kind of like disaster take place. You gotta consider paperwork. There's an academic side of this. My understanding of it is that he's already graduated from South Florida. But there's a paperwork, there's an academic side, credits, and all that kind of stuff that have to be worked out. So, but I would expect it probably today, honestly, for sure. Would be shocked if we got out of this weekend without it being announced that Byron Brown is going to be coming to Auburn as the quarterback. So, like, when we talk about what this means, I think there's so many different things that it could do for Auburn. I want to start though with just the player, Byron Brown. Like, this kid is absolutely electric. When Byron Brown touches the football, it's a big play, and it could happen at any moment. Will you have to cut down on some of the running? There was a point in the season, and it may have even finished this way for South Florida, where he was leading the team in carries. Now, how many of those are called runs versus, passing plays that he turns into a run, that kind of thing. But ultimately, he was carrying the ball a lot, and he's 6'5", maybe even 6'6". This is a big guy. He is not scared to lower his shoulder and run people over. He can jump over people. Just the word dynamic and electric. Those are probably the two words that I would best use to describe Byron Brown with a football in his hands. So, not that, like, obviously very different in size and game and all that, but the same in the sense of like with Nick Marshall, where if that football is in his hands, at any moment, a big play could pop, and it could happen through the air as well. So this is a big part where Auburn is going to, again, have to rebuild in the trenches, rebuild up front in that offensive line, and put a lot of resources into that to give Byron Brown the time. Because if he's going to be a guy that's already going to be taking some hits running the football, then you're going to have to protect him when he is in the pocket on 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, and you're looking for him to kind of scan downfield and make a play. So, and then obviously putting the weapons around him. We know that Auburn is losing a lot of their weapons that were in that wide receiver room. And guys, we're going to be honest, some guys that we didn't want to lose. It sucks to see these guys visiting other SEC schools and all that. But I love Singleton, the kid from USF. I would love for Auburn to get that one wrapped up. You got to think that Brown comes in and gets wrapped up as Auburn's quarterback. And some of those receivers, I think Singleton is one of those that could play, that it will translate very easily from the American Conference to the SEC. And that's always tough, right? We've seen before the kid from Georgia State from 2 years ago. His name slips my mind. I'm sure y'all can let me know in the chat. But he had a really solid year at Georgia State, and then he comes to Auburn and applied for wide receiver, and he just didn't. It just didn't pan out. So it's all with the G5 guys. It's always, it could be hit and miss, but I think with Byron Brown in particular, he's just so dynamic. And then there's also the standpoint of, the system, the scheme. So when you're Alex Golis and you're already coming in and you're having to install an entirely new system, to have a quarterback that knows that system, that has already played in it for multiple years, he doesn't really have to learn it. Right now, he can help out the people that do need to learn it, help out the new people that will be new to the system. And so there's the obvious football standpoint of that, where him and Alex Golis, they speak the same language. We think about a lot of what's happened on these critical downs. Think about what's happened on some of these critical downs for Auburn, where miscommunications, right? Miscommunications on that 4th down play 2 years ago at Georgia. We see these miscommunications on 3rd down. How many times has it just looked like chaos on that Auburn sideline on offense when they're trying to get a big-time play in? 3rd and 3, and you got to have it over these past 3 years. It's been chaos, right? You bring in Byron Brown, you're going to have a quarterback that's already – it's not like, man, Peyton Thorne and Hugh Freeze, they were trying to mesh. They were trying to make it match, and it never did. I mean, hell, the first part of that season, there was this whole Robbie Ashford, Peyton Thorne dance, right? And we saw how that went. And then even in the year after Robbie Ashford leaves, you Peyton Thorne, he struggles versus Cal, so then you go to Hank Brown. It just, they were never able to get on the same page. You don't have to worry about Byron Brown and Alex Golesh getting on the same page. They've already wrote a book together. They're good to go. So that aspect of it. So in the meeting rooms, he's ahead of the curve. He knows what to do. It's not like Byron Brown's going to be trying to learn or try. I mean, he's always going to try to grow and get better as a player, right? But he knows this system. He can help guys out. And he can help out the guys that are still learning the system. So there's that aspect of it. He knows it inside and out. He's done it. There's no learning period there. He already knows it. Then there's the on the field. So it translates from the film room to on the field in that aspect. But then there's the culture side of this too. And the culture side of this is very, very important. If Alex Golesh is the no-nonsense kind of guy that we hear that he is as Auburn fans, well, you know, in today's day and age, that doesn't always go over well. If you have a guy that's already played for him and can already kind of be a voice for him, can be that bridge between Coach Golesh to the players, you hear a lot, and this is an extreme example because it's like one of the greatest football dynasties of all time, but you hear a lot about how Tom Brady was kind of that for Bill Belichick, how Bill Belichick would kind of come down hard, and then Brady would kind of bridge that gap in the locker room. And I'm not saying that Golesh is Bill Belichick and that Brown's Tom Brady, right? But just that kind of example of a guy that's been in the system for a long time and knows the culture. And he can, if Golesh is coming down hard on people, or if they're having a hard day in fall camp, you're in those dog days, to have a guy like Byron Brown who's already won a lot of games, who's already been productive with Coach Golesh, who can tell the guys that are new to the system, that are new to the culture, hey, listen, trust in AG, just trust me, this is going to work. Like, it helps to have that guy that can also be the voice for the coach in the locker room, especially in this day and age of college football, where guys are there's so much turnover. And you have a new coach coming in trying to establish a new culture. So this makes me feel good. The last coach that came in and tried to establish a new culture, he was doing that. While also, bringing in a new quarterback and trying to get on the same page with him. Look, this would be a nice 1-year transition. Then you kind of look at Alex Golesh and his staff and like, what's the plan after Byron Brown? Now, we know that they tried to get Deuce to stay an extra year. They tried to kind of reward him to be QB2 and sit on the bench. Ultimately, Deuce decided that he doesn't want to do that. That's his decision. So, but again, I said this on the show the other day. I like what Alex Golesh tried to do in that situation. It just, everybody has to do what's best for them. Deuce not included, trying to do what's best for him. So ultimately, we'll see what they do post Byron Brown. And I know that nothing is kind of official here, but with him visiting, it all feels like, again, it would have to be some kind of disaster. So we also know Auburn's, again, going to have to really rebuild in the trenches. You're going to have to go get multiple SEC-level starters on the offensive and defensive line. Edge rusher, you're probably going to have to drop a nice bag if you want to go get a proven edge rusher. That's a premium position, right? Auburn's got to at least go get one of those. They're losing all of them off the roster. So there is a lot here that still has to be determined, but a good place to start is at that quarterback position. And I'm fired up because, you can go back and check my X account. Long before we knew Alex Golesh was going to be at Auburn, or that Byron Brown being a quarterback at Auburn was ever a possibility, I've been tweeting about Byron Brown just because it's must-see TV. And a lot of nights South Florida was playing on like a Thursday or a Friday night, so they were one of the only games on. You turn it on, you see this absolute tank back there just throwing darts, throwing bombs from the pocket and then also turning what should be a loss of down or, just a throw out of bounds kind of thing, turning that play into a 15, 20-yard gain. And that's the thing that you just can't teach. And we've seen that with the Nick Marshalls, and we've seen that with the Cam Newtons. We've seen that at Auburn before with when everything breaks down. You can call the best play in the world and all this kind of stuff. Sometimes, man, the players just got to make plays. And when you turn on the tape, Byron Brown is a guy that just makes a lot of plays, and he makes them at critical points in time. So very excited. Love this. And this is also, listen, this can't go, and it hasn't been official yet. So, we'll have to, this will probably hopefully be discussed more on tomorrow morning's live show with Nick. But some of this stuff, it just like Auburn getting across the finish line on this is important because ballers know ballers, man. And there are like people know, other football players know that Byron Brown is a dude, right? And you get Byron Brown into the boat early, you get him to commit this weekend, you get it all wrapped up. And then, like, to be real with you guys, we're all pretty sure it's wrapped up. It's just there's paperwork to, and some of that is like paperwork has to get transferred from school to school. And there's just a lot of stuff that could take a couple of days for it to all, be declared official. But we all kind of feel like it's there. So it's going to be huge, man. This will be absolutely huge for Auburn. And again, when you look at, like, you got a big tight end target that is on campus. You got a lot of big time. There's some big offensive line prospects. Thought I had my phone turned off here. A lot of big offensive line prospects that are on campus this week. So Auburn's got a lot to do. Alex Golis has a lot to do. You have got to get the quarterback in play, right? Because if Auburn's got to rebuild on that offensive side of the ball, no one's coming until they know who the quarterback is. Let's get Byron Brown wrapped up. And we're going to get to some of these comments, man. We're going to get to some of these comments. Again, if you're just now coming in here, this was supposed to be a quick members-only live show where I just wanted to come in and get some quick intel on the Byron Brown situation. Didn't even plan on going longer than like 20 minutes on this one. And then was going to pump out some content later in the day. I didn't hit the right button, and it went live to the public. So now here we are with a nice big group of y'all here in the live chat watching. So we'll keep going. We'll get to some of these comments, and we'll keep this thing going. Didn't even plan on doing this, but here we are. My guy, Ken, it's a War Eagle from Pensacola, Florida. What's up, Ken? As you can tell by the hat, Pensacola native. We are live, as we always are, from Pensacola as well. My guy, NH3425 is in the building. He says War Eagle. And he also says, I think Brown is going to announce by game time today. Yeah, at any moment. I mean, like, literally at any moment, that could pop, and we could be right back on here. I would love for it to pop right now. We could just change the name of the live to Byron Brown officially commits to Auburn. That'd be great. So G Hunter says, Dustin, you're a G for this award anyway. Thanks, buddy. Thanks. Appreciate you being in here, brother. Susan with the War Damn Eagles. Susan is always in here supporting the show. The AU Sleeping Giant says, we all make mistakes, my man. All good. Not a bad mistake to make, though, right? Get to hang out with everybody. Just a bigger crowd than we anticipated. Got War Eagle from my guy, JD and Courtney Miller. What's going on? Let's get it going, y'all. Everybody's saying we sound good. Yeah, appreciate everybody in the chat. Got some of these stars that we want to get to. My guy, Zach, said he's finally able to make a live show. He always is upset because he misses the live shows. He's at work. What's up to my guy, Zach Dixon, member right here of the Uptempo podcast. Appreciate you, Zach. Been supporting the show, man, always being active in the comments and everything. It means the world to me, brother. Appreciate you, big dog. Let's see. Byron Brown won't be on Auburn's campus until Sunday. And other people are in the comments saying that he's on campus right now. Whether he's on campus today, tomorrow, I think we all expect him to be an Auburn Tiger and be the starting quarterback versus the Baylor Bears week 1 there in Atlanta. So that's the main thing. But yeah, so as far as timetable and all that, we'll see. I mean, they've been very active. I've heard that the football facility has been very, very busy this weekend. So a lot of stuff to keep up with for sure. Robert Lewis. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. Robert Lewis had almost 900 yards, I want to say, at Georgia State. had 60, 70 receptions, something like that. And then Auburn was really excited that he was, thought he was going to be a big piece of the offense, and it just didn't fit. And that was kind of the frustrating part to me about the previous regime was you recruited these guys out of high school to play wide receiver, but then you kept getting portal guys and not giving those guys a chance. Like I didn't really, it's like Horatio Fields is not a bad football player, but Perry Thompson could have done that, right? Tim Toolman Taylor says that Pensacola hat is kind of cold. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, the Pensacola Ice Flyers, local minor league team here. They have their merch game is definitely on point. N8 says we're expecting some wide receivers from USF. Yeah, absolutely, because they've got some guys. Singleton and others. There's Christian Neptune is a young freshman where I'm not like making a prediction that he's going to come to Auburn, but he was a freshman this year. Got off to a hot start. I believe he got a little bit banged up, if I'm not mistaken. And then kind of slowed down there in the middle to the end of the season. But Christian Neptune is a freshman from Tate High School, which is 15 minutes up the road from me. I watched him my senior year, or watched him his senior year 2 years ago. He's electric. I think he's an SEC football player. I thought that he was just like a size thing, but like in the slot, I think he could definitely make something happen. So, yeah, there were a couple receivers on that USF roster last year, and a Singleton especially, that I think could translate to the SEC. Let's see here. Need 5 starting to go linemen is going to be difficult for any coach or QB to overcome. Yeah, this is the part that I am. This is the part I guess I would say probably I'm the most concerned about right now. Is that, and it's not like a panic button thing, but I feel like it's just going to be really hard. It's just really going to be hard to get the amount of quality starting offensive linemen that Auburn needs. So what you're really going to hope for, and now there is some rumor going around about DeAndre Carter coming back. I think that would be big for the depth of that room. DeAndre Carter stepping out of the portal, coming back to Auburn. That's not official or anything. That's just a rumor that I've heard. But if that happened, that would be big for that. But still, Auburn's got to rebuild on the offensive line regardless. Starting SEC caliber offensive linemen costs money, and Auburn needs multiple of those. So do I think the staff can do it? Yeah, but like how many of those of quality are out there? I don't know. And then other teams need those too. Like multiple teams need those kind of guys. So just kind of how many of those is Auburn able to go get? Then you look at some of the guys that stayed, and like a Jacoby Ward or a Brody Scholl or a Ty Buster and Cale Ellis, and are they able to take the next step? And then you have to look at I personally look at the new offensive line coach there and say, okay, man, what is your development like? Or can you get these guys ready to take the next step? So, but yeah, look, Byron Brown can be the best athlete in the world with a football in his hands. If he's getting crushed every play because there's no line to block for him, then it doesn't matter. So getting him in is crucial. You would got to think that getting a quarterback of his caliber, that big-time offensive lineman would want to come play for him. And I'll say this, too, in terms of the offensive line and having to reconstruct it. Auburn's got money. Like we see, there was $3-4 million Auburn was prepared to pay one wide receiver that opened up. So there's a lot. If you need to rebuild in the trenches, and that is an expensive proposition, then at least Auburn kind of has the funds right now to do that if they so please. Well, they're going to have to. Teresa says, apparently yesterday USF was holding the paperwork hostage. They can legally hold for 48 hours. They are trying to screw with goalless for leaving, looks like. Yeah, so I see somebody else talking about it in the chat. I'm not coming on and reporting that or confirming it. I'm just bringing up the comment here. But, again, yeah, that could definitely paperwork and all that kind of stuff and just finalizing the academic side of it. There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. But make no mistake about it. I think that Byron Brown to Auburn was decided on some time ago. So now it's just about kind of getting it all across the finish line here and getting it all wrapped up, which for Auburn, look, let's be honest now. Auburn football can blow a layup. So just making the layup would be big time for sure. Got a 1999 super chat. Let's see, my guy Thomas Adams with a 1999 super chat. There was no comment attached, Thomas. So if you did have a comment attached and I missed it, put like a little star beside it in the chat so I can see it, and then I'll bring it up. I know how those super chats do. Sometimes they cut your comment off when you're trying to type it out and everything and just post it. So appreciate you, buddy. Appreciate you for the 1999 super chat on this Saturday morning. Auburn basketball taking on the Georgia Bulldogs in 2 hours. How are we feeling about that? Let me know in the chat, guys. Do we think that Auburn is able to defeat the Bulldogs today and what would be a massive win for Stephen Pearl? Devin says, I haven't seen an official portal announcement for Jackson Arnold. I'm sure some paperwork takes time. Yeah, and you see Jackson, some predictions for him to maybe land at a place like UNLV. You know, I think that would be a good spot for him. That level of football would be best for him to kind of go down there and work on some things and really let his athletic ability shine. Thomas says, thank you for the commentary. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So, yeah, I think that would be if UNLV or a school like that is the move for Jackson, then let's go. Devin says, War Eagle fan, excited for this portal window. Hopefully we have success. Going to have to. We're going to have to, Devin. We got to rebuild and a lot of, well, not all positions, right? Linebacker are going to be filthy. Like linebacker, we're probably going to be filthy. Got a lot of young dogs. Got a lot of young dogs coming up in that linebacker room. All of them coming back. You know, Robert Woodyard has decided to move on, and I think he was great this year. But also, when you just look at Elijah Melendez and Bryce Dees and the young Xavier Atkins, really up and just for 10 weeks of the season was probably one of the best defensive players in the country. There was a lot of talent on that side of the football. There's a lot of talent in that linebacker room in particular. So that's a good thing, right? There's a spot right there where you don't have to spend a lot of money. You don't have to spend a lot of resources. I'm looking at the running back position. I'm looking at running back, and I'm wondering, is there going to be some movement there? I don't expect there to be big movement, but, you know, a guy like Alvin Henderson who loved Cadillac Williams, and then Cadillac obviously doesn't end up being the running back coach, but he still was a big Hugh Freeze guy. Does he decide to ultimately, you know, move on? And then is there somebody that Auburn maybe wants to move out of that room? Maybe keep everybody, but just fill DeMario Alston's spot with a portal guy. So there's but either way, I don't expect there to be a lot of movement in that room, right? So when you look at linebacker, you look at running back, those are some rooms right there that you feel pretty good about, where if there was no movement at all, you feel good. If there was minimal movement, you feel good. So really, and I feel good about like safety and DB, but you just got to add some pieces there. So it's not like there's total rebuilds there. It's really the interior of the D line, a big portion of the O line. I feel like you got to kind of add it, like we call it the two deep, right? I feel like you literally have to add an entire layer of offensive linemen, and most of those guys need to be like quality SEC type starters. That's really what I'm watching here in the portal. Just how good of a job, what can we do in terms of what can Alex Golis and this new staff do in terms of putting together an offensive line? Because that's hard. That's hard to rebuild one of those from scratch. My guy, NH3425, coming through with the $10 super chat, says, I got a theory that AG and Cohen meant by roster retention, they meant the defense and basically reset the offense as much of our announced returns are defense. Just a thought. Yeah, I mean, there was always this was always my thing, buddy. And this is a good point you make. I just thought that the whole roster retention thing was always kind of overblown, like to the extent that it was discussed. It was like a main topic for a couple of weeks, and I never really understood that, because you're not going to, unless you're bringing in a guy that's going to run the exact same scheme as Hugh Freeze, right? The exact same offense, unless you were just going to promote Derek Nick, like DJ Durkin, and then make Derek Nix the OC, unless you're going to do something like that, then there was going to be massive overhaul on offense anyway. Like Hugh Freeze was a good salesman. We can't take that away from him. And he got Malcolm Simmons. I've told this story before. There was a space This was back when the spaces on X were really popping. There was a space where Malcolm Simmons was in it, and he was just answering questions, right? Reporters were in there, fans. He was just answering questions from everybody. So I asked him, because there was like the big thing at the time was all the people were committing to Auburn, and they were saying Hugh Freeze is telling us about wanting to turn this great program around. That first big class he had, that was a big selling point that he put on them, was Auburn used to be great. Come here and be part of the turnaround, making Auburn great again. That was the big kind of sell that he had pushed on him. So at the time when Malcolm committed, a lot of commits were saying that. So I asked him how much of a factor. I said, how much of a factor did that play into your decision? And Malcolm said, very little. He said, it's about the offense. He said, I sat down. We looked at the offense. I looked at the guys that Hugh Freeze had put in the NFL at my position. And I said I wanted to be a part of that. That was his answer. So, and I'm sure he's not the only person. Like, that was the big selling point. Perry Thompson. He probably looked at some of the guys of his same frame and body type that Hugh Freeze had put in the NFL previously and said, I'm going to come be a part of that. That was the selling point. When there was going to be big turnover anyway, because I think a lot of those guys have realized they were sold a false bill of goods. But they give it one more year, okay, maybe it's the quarterback, let's see, and then you miss again on quarterback, and then it's obvious there's issues with the system and all that kind of stuff. There was going to be some of these guys leaving anyway, just because of how bad it was and because of what they were being told, what they were sold didn't come to be. But when you blow it up, I've said that a bunch on the show the last couple of weeks, you got a new boss coming in. So let's look at it from just a relatable standpoint. To your point here, NH, you see a lot of guys on offense leaving, right? Let's say at your job, there's a lot of turnover. Big change at the top, but there's one department that was performing well, and they keep the manager of that department in place. They say, hey, well, look, his department's doing great, so we're going to keep him in position. But the head position had to go, and then there's other parts of the company we got to clean house. But this one particular department is actually performing well above the standard, and we're going to keep that boss in place. Well, then, of course, probably going to keep most of those employees in place. The guy that they report to didn't change, right? So, yeah, man. And my final thoughts on this, NH, is when you talk about Cohen in particular. What did Cohen say in the first press conference that he gave whenever Hugh Freeze was fired? He said, if we had a halfway decent offense, I wouldn't be here. So he knew what it was. He knew what was going on there. Don't want to sugarcoat some of it. They wanted to retain Cam Coleman. They wanted to retain Deuce Knight. But there's a lot of those guys that they said, you know what? You can walk. And they definitely kind of hit the reset on the contracts. And just, I can't imagine being Alex Golesh and having to sit down and go through all the game film of the offense over the past 2 or 3 years. This guy's probably pulling his hair out. So, yeah, there had to be a massive reset. And I think a lot of that is mindset. Because, again, you can't shy away from this. Let's think about this. Whenever Hugh was about to get fired, it all kind of started to come out right around that area, that time period when it was all getting rocky. You had reporters saying that you can go to an Auburn football practice and you could watch, and the offensive side of the field looked completely different from the defensive side of the field. You had players telling reporters off the record and behind the scenes that in terms of the meeting rooms and the organization of the defense and the offense, it looked completely different. That everything on defense was structured down to every detail, and that the offense was just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, willy-nilly, whatever. So yeah, like the offensive side of the ball, from a structure standpoint, from a pure football standpoint, had to be blown up. But also, it really, what we kind of found out was under the previous regime, you kind of had two different cultures going on in some ways. In some ways, at the end of the day, it was one big losing culture. But you had, like, at least on defense, there was organization and structure and detail, you know, and some accountability on that side of the ball. There just wasn't any of that on the offensive side of the ball. So yeah, it makes sense that an offensive-minded head coach came in and saw all that, gathered all the data, and said, we got to blow this up. Zach says, might have the best linebacking core in the country, honestly. Yeah, buddy. We might. It's definitely going to be one of the more talented ones. Can we pay 34 stars to come in and be depth? No, I don't think that's very realistic. But what you can do is you can do you can still bring in a lot of quality football players and build a winning culture of accountability. And you can actually have a good scheme and actually have organization on both sides of the football that leads to victories. Like in the SEC, you do have to have the Jimmies and the Joes. Like, I'm not coming on here saying Auburn can win with a bunch of 2 and 3 stars in the SEC. But you can win with, you don't have to have like all 4 and 5 stars, right? Like there is a path. Auburn's done it before. Historically, Auburn's done it before. You still got to recruit, like you still got to have guys, right? I mean, Auburn's had the greatest athlete of all time in Bo Jackson on his football team before. You still got to recruit dudes, no doubt about it. But they're also, when you play the schedule that Auburn plays and your arch rivals just so happen to be these massive powerhouse type programs, there is going to have to be some level of kind of underdogish. There's going to have to be some level of, well, we can't quite recruit to their level. Can maybe be right there with them, but we're going to have to develop at a high rate and put these guys into position to succeed. And Auburn's like this. That's not a new thing to Auburn. That's not a new thing to Auburn. Auburn's won national championships, SEC championships before with that very formula. So, you know, it's going to be fascinating to see how this whole portal window plays out. Now that you don't have the spring one, like this is your time period. Again, to kind of go back to, if you're new coming into the live show here, this topic is kind of I know the thumbnail was Byron Brown. We've kind of since gone on past Byron Brown, talking about some other needs on the team, but kind of tying it back into getting Byron Brown on this roster and getting him committed to Auburn as quickly as you can. People want to come play for a quarterback like that. Yo, Malcolm says, edge rushers. We need them, brother. Auburn needs them. Brad says, I wish Morris would come back. He was going to take over for Falk. Crazy to me. He wants to leave. Hey, some of these guys, man, like, you know, I don't know the personal details, right? That's really the thing, too, is that for like every player, the story can be a little bit different. So I just want to be really careful in discussing that. But like, there are guys where you just, from the pure football, not knowing the details of their personal lives or the why. Morris is a great example. Kinsley Faustin is a guy where I was like, well, the reps are there. The reps are there. Don't leave. Your reps are there now. And I feel that way about Morris too. So yeah, and we'll see. Maybe Auburn can get him back. But Auburn's definitely going to have to spend money on edge rusher. The positions of importance for every team: O-line, D-line, QB, if you don't have a starter. Absolutely. Absolutely. Got to build it in the trenches. Watch the Miami Hurricanes. Watch the Miami Hurricanes. That's what a team that's built in the trenches looks like, man. They're dogs up front on both sides of the ball. They cause problems. Same thing with Indiana. In Miami in particular, they have recruited. Like, they put a premium on recruiting and developing the offensive line. Mario Cristobal makes no apologies about that. And look where they are as a program. And then you go when they go get a solid quarterback like Carson Beck, you put him behind that O-line, and you can look what they've done. And yeah, they got a great defense. Look at the trenches, man. Look at Ruben Bain. That kid's a monster. That kid's a freaking beast. So yeah, absolutely. O-line, D-line. You're not going to win in the SEC if you don't have them. Teams will move you around and can't have it. And unfortunately, Auburn's been pushed around on the line of scrimmage. Really, even at times where, like, talked about this the other day on the show too. Auburn's ran the ball. I mean, Jarquez a couple of years ago, what he had over 1,200 yards, I believe, right? So it's like when you look at it as a whole, you can say Auburn ran the ball pretty well this year. Jeremiah Cobb had a nice season last year. Really, but like obviously the pass protection has been rough the past couple of seasons. Some of that went into some quarterback play last year, holding on to the ball too long. But still, we all know the poor, like the penalties on O-line, the obviously not on the same page pre-snap, all the pre-snap penalties from the offensive line, and then just pass protection in general has just been bad over the past couple of years. We all know that. But even in games when Auburn was running the football very well, it would get to like a critical 3rd and 2. And then every single offensive lineman across the board would lose. And that probably goes back to the culture thing, just not being able to make the critical plays and all that. But yeah, Auburn's got to get some for real dogs up front. And again, it would just be massive if you got a DeAndre Carter back and then he was able to take that next step, or if a Brody Scholl or a Ty Buster was maybe a little bit ahead of schedule, it can come in next year as a redshirt freshman and start. Where is Tyler Johnson? Is Tyler Johnson ready to start at tackle? The timeline for him is like this is when he should be ready to start at tackle. So a lot to be determined on that offensive line. Perry got interest from Miami. Are you kidding me? Look, some of these guys, nobody around college football will look at what happened at Auburn last year and not blame Hugh Freeze, right? Like that, everyone knows that was a mess. Everyone knows how bad that offense was and who was at fault, because the moment Hugh Freeze was removed, the offense got significantly better. So there are going to be guys that weren't productive in this Auburn offense that are going to get probably some big deals, or going to get looked at from some big schools like a Perry, because people are going to look at it and say it's not your fault, and they're going to still kind of believe in the talent and all that. So that's going to kind of be a part of it. Now some of these people are going to overpay, like Malcolm Simmons in Kentucky and all these Arkansas are going to really drop in this bag that like Auburn just couldn't afford to pay. That's the system, man. That's just kind of the game right now. So I don't blame the player for going and getting a significant amount of more money than he was going to get at a school. And then I don't blame the school for saying, like, I'm not giving you that. So Alive Tree says, defense never been a problem for Auburn. Play calling just been terrible the past 12 years. This is probably it's so fascinating, isn't it? And then there was 1 year, I would say Harson's last year, when Smeding was in charge of defense, where defense kind of sucked. And they still weren't terrible, but it was the worst that we've seen. But other than that year, yeah, dude, whether it be Kevin Steele or the year with Ron Roberts or, DJ Durkin, Auburn's defense has been really solid. And you keep hiring these offensive-minded head coaches just hoping that they can get that side of the ball right, that they can just get it halfway decent. It's been beyond frustrating, because it was Gus and then Harsin and then Hugh, and now we're sitting here on Alex Golesh. Eventually this has got to work, right? Eventually there's got to be somebody that can get the opportunity, because help me out here. What are Auburn's double-digit losses the last 2 years? You lost by 10 to Georgia this year, and then you got blown out last year at Tuscaloosa and at Athens. So Auburn's lost 14 games in the past, and then you ended up losing to Vanderbilt by 10, but that wasn't really – Hugh forgot with the 2-minute warning. The end of that game was so bad. But, really, and even the Georgia game this year was 10 points. So – but it didn't feel like a double-digit loss, right? This big blowout. The point I'm making is, of these 14 losses, you really go through there and you start going through the 14 losses of the past 2 years. You're going to pull your hair out, because in almost all of them, you're going to man, if we just had an average offense. And then you have the Vanderbilt game this year where the offense explodes and the defense craps the bed. So this program just got to learn how to win, man. This team has just got to learn how to win again. Brad says they have to start implementing some type of transfer rule, 1 year transfer without sitting a year. Dealing with this year in and year out is trash. They got to come up with something, man. There's a lot of different, I don't want to get into that today in terms of like what they should do, rules of college football and all that. But yeah, there's got to be some kind of something other than re-recruiting guys every single year, because that's a little bit like every single year having to re-recruit every player. That's just nuts. That's absolutely nuts. Alive Tree says, last year wasn't on Auburn's defense. It was terrible play calling. Yeah, for sure. Defense, outside of that Vanderbilt game, defense was on point last year. And that's kind of been the story of Auburn football for a long time now, for like over a decade. And it's just, it's exhausting. It's exhausting for sure. Let's see. A kid like a Morris is a kid that no matter what you will pay, will hit the portal every year, probably save money just letting him go. Good point. Good point. There's a lot of there will be people like this, players like this, because again, every player is different. Some players have real agents, some players have people masquerading as agents. So there was a lot of different stuff going on. People hitting the portal, using it as leverage, that they don't actually want to leave. People that'll hit the portal every year and might leave every year as they knew, you're basically getting them on a 1 year basis. And you'll have some guys that like love a school and just want to kind of stay at a school. So like there's going to be a little bit, those are few and far between right now. But yeah, you're going to get a little bit of everything right now. I would agree with what a lot of y'all are putting in the comments. And again, we won't get into this today. There's got to be some kind of structure at some point. Everyone knows that. Brett says this should be a time to look to the future. We've got players on campus now, and our QB1 is on his way to the Plains. Players that left AU are in the past. Time to move on. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Cannot wait for some of these new Auburn Tigers, right? Guys that want to be Auburn Tigers. We cannot wait to get in here and talk about them. I hope we offer the bag on this visit. Miami is knocking on the door. Yeah, got to get this thing wrapped up, man. You definitely got to get this wrapped up, because in this transfer portal era, things can change very, very quickly. You think you have a guy, and then boom, all of a sudden, bag gets dropped, and it changes things quickly. So we need to see this Byron Brown get wrapped up and become official and signed, sealed, delivered, and all that. We want to see that happen very, very soon. We're about to get out of here, guys. Get a few more of these comments in here. Do us a favor, man. Like the video, sub to the channel. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. with my guy Nick Frazier from the Water Cooler Talk podcast, and we will have some member content post game after the Auburn-Georgia game. I will drop my reactions to that. Auburn-Georgia playing in basketball here in roughly about an hour and a half. I will drop my post game commentary for that for the members tonight, so stay on the lookout for that, and got some film breakdowns recorded for you guys that we are going to get uploaded here to the channel within the next couple of days, so be on the lookout for that as well. And this was supposed to be, again, a members only live, and then they ended up talking to everybody here. So Mullis for Auburn says ESPN wrote Signetti brought 13 players from JMU to Indiana, so bring some dog. Yeah, for sure. For sure. There are definitely some guys on that South Florida roster that are capable of playing SEC football. And the thing that I love about this is that, this is not Auburn has hired a coach before in recent memory that didn't have any SEC experience, and he came to the SEC and you quickly saw he was over his head. Alex Golis was just at the SEC. He was just in Tennessee in the NIL era, right? In the NIL space. He's been in those meetings. He's been in those rooms. He's had those discussions that are now a part of this current era of college football. So he knows what it takes in terms of on the football field and off the football field, what kind of guys that you need to have at the SEC level. So the ones that he does choose to bring, I'm going to trust his evaluations on that, right? Like, he's been in it. He sees it. He was a big part of that turnaround there in Knoxville. Offense was unquestionably the problem. The losing culture is team-wide, though. Defense consistently gave up late points over the last 2 years. Got to fix that, too. You hit the nail on the head, Sturgill Simpson 24. I agree with you 100%. Defense has not been the main issue, but when it was time for them to step up and make a play, like you said here in your comment, they didn't really do it. So, yeah, hopefully, the hope is that Alex Golesh, an offensive-minded guy, is able to bring, obviously a new scheme and a new fit and everything like that from like a pure football standpoint to the offensive side of the football, but then also that he can kind of hit the reset button on the culture as well. And I think that you've kind of seen a lot of that in terms of some of these guys that they've let walk that maybe they wanted to keep from a talent standpoint, but aren't willing to overpay them or put up with shenanigans, quite frankly. I think he's kind of came into Auburn. He's taken a look around the building and said a lot of this has to be cleaned out. And, I talked about this on my last episode, to your point here, Sturgill. It's not surprising when you hear the stories and just when like you don't even have to have any kind of inside intel or hear any of the stories that come out post Hugh Freeze getting fired. You can watch this Auburn football team on Saturday the last 3 years, and you can see and you can understand that some of the issues that are leading to late game mishaps are because of things that are happening during the week. It's like you don't make that many mistakes at the end of games on Saturday if there's not a fatal flaw in your process on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So hopefully Alex Golesh is the guy to identify what that flaw has been. I mean, there's obviously a lot of those, but hopefully he's the guy to clean that out. So let's get any final comments in here. 309 watching, only 1 like on YouTube. That can't be the case. That can't be the case. That's got to be a lie, Teresa. Hopefully YouTube's lying to us, because that would be an all-time record for bad if that was the case. So yeah, let's for sure, if you have not, man, hit that like button, make that happen. But hopefully YouTube's just lying to you on that one, Teresa. Hopefully a lot more than one person has hit that like button. Yeah, well, let's see. Let's see if we can get that turned around. Get into your final comments in there. Let's see. You Sleeping Giant says, how many USF guys do you think come over? I think it'll kind of depend. I think it'll kind of depend, honestly. Like some of the DBs, how will it all play out in terms of, do they have, I don't know, their board, right? Like, I don't know. You've seen some DBs, for example, enter the portal. Do they have other guys above them that they want to get? And then if they don't get those guys, that then they kind of pivot back to the USF guys. If we were going to put an over-under on it, I'd say put the number at 4, and then I'd probably push. I'd say right around 4. Okay, yeah, now we're up over to 100, Teresa. I just checked. We're up over 100 likes. So yeah, everybody, man, doing us the favor of hitting that like button for sure. I'm gonna say 4. If I had to put a number down, give me 4. If it goes a little bit over that, then look, wouldn't be mad at it, because again, I trust AG in terms of being able to evaluate what talent, like, he wants to succeed, right? It's not like he's going to bring in guys from South Florida just because they're his guys, He's going to bring the guys that he thinks can coach at this level, and he's going to bring the guys that he thinks can play at this level. And then you saw that in his recruiting class, there was a couple of guys that he was either trying to recruit to USF or that he did have committed with him at USF that he believes in, that he think can play at this level. And he brought a few of those, right? But it's not like Auburn's 2026 class all of a sudden became South Florida's class. For the most part, he kept what he could of Auburn's class together and then brought a few pieces of the class from him at South Florida that he thought were guys that could play at this level. So I kind of expect that same mentality in terms of bringing his guys in the portal. Zach saying fire hat, appreciate that. I get a lot of compliments on my hat game, on the beanie game. I take pride in it. I take pride in it. I try to keep the hat game on point at all times. And yeah, this is the Pensacola Ice Flyers. So shout out to my local hockey team here in Pensacola. Saucy says, I just hate players leave so quick without getting to see how they fit with the coaching schemes. Yeah, man. I mean, this is the part about it where it's like there's give and take. This is the thing where there's give and take. There's stories. Like, I saw somebody put a post out yesterday that said a lot of players just retired from college football and they didn't know it yet. And that's very accurate. That's very accurate. I know some stories in particular about some local kids from my area that hit the portal looking for greener pastures and didn't get picked up at all. And then all of a sudden they try to go back to their old school, and their old school said, we don't feel your spot. So there's that. There's kids that leave every single year and go play for go play for 5-6 different teams, and they don't ever really get developed and hit their potential. There's also the K'Ron Crawford stories, right? A guy that was just an SEC level edge rusher at Arkansas State, got overlooked in the process. And then Auburn identifies his game tape, brings him in, and it's the right move for him. And he has a solid first year. He develops and goes better in his second year, and now he's going to go pro. So the portal was a perfect thing for K'Ron Crawford, right? To be fair, we could use examples of people leaving Auburn, like a Bo Nix. Hard to say that him leaving Auburn wasn't the best move for him. So there's definitely a give and take. I agree with you 100%, Saucy, from the standpoint of some of these guys. Some of these guys are just hurting themselves, and I don't know, and I don't know any I don't know the details of every situation in particular. So I don't want to single this guy out. I'm not picking on this guy or anything, but I'm just saying let's just go without me knowing the details of anything. Maybe Kinsley Falston has a great reason for leaving Auburn. But just from a pure football standpoint, I'm looking at it and I'm I think he was pretty solid last year. He started to get reps in the back half of the season. And some of the guys in front of him have moved on, staying in the same system, getting reps. I just, when I saw him hitting the portal, I'm dang, Kinsley Falston, I hope you're not hurting your career, And again, I'm not trying to speak for him. I don't know what his situation is, but just to your point, Saucy, some of these guys, it's it felt like you were in the prime position to, it felt like this was your moment. Keontae Scott killing it in Miami. Now, again, all these conversations are so nuanced because what Keontae's doing at Miami is what Ron Roberts had Keontae doing his first year at Auburn. And then they try to move Keontae to outside corner because that's what the NFL values. And Keontae kind of wanted to try outside corner, and it was the whole thing, right? And it didn't work out. And then now he's back at Miami he's back in the position that Auburn had him in a couple of years ago where he was successful. So, yeah, again, just every single one of these situations is a lot different. Koger just hit the portal as we speak. Which one is Koger? Alex says, do we get some commits today? I think so. Maybe not. There might be a lot tomorrow. But I would say yes. I'm hoping Byron Brown's today, to be honest with you. Let's see. Got some eyes going up. So I'm talking about some people hitting the portal here all of a sudden. Let's see. Joe says, we will have to see how it plays out. So some may want to see how the QB plays out. Some may want to keep options open. Everything is negotiable. Yeah. Okay. I don't envy these head coaches at all right now. Ward M. Eagle and Happy New Year. Yeah, Happy New Year to everybody out there. Another great show, says my guy, WK Sweat 71. Appreciate you always being in here. Oh, the wide receiver. Okay. My mind was on quarterback. That's the wide receiver. That's the other wide receiver from South Florida. Yeah, my mind's on. I was trying to think of what quarterback is that? Yeah, good deal. Cool. Yeah, good football player. A live tree said, I just subscribed. Got to show love to my Auburn fan, bro. Yeah, absolutely. Sub to the show today. We are right here at 100 subs away from 3,000. So let's get to 3,000 here in the next week or so, man. Subscribe to the Uptempo podcast. If you are listening over on audio, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get that, man, leave a 5-star review. Turn on the automatic downloads and everything that goes on with that. Hit that like button on the way out. Again, members, stay on the lookout for the content. I see one more comment I want to get to here. My guy Sleeping Giant says, whenever Brown visits today or tomorrow, you have to tie it up today because he says otherwise Miami might get him. Yeah, you always got to watch out for the Miami Hurricanes lurking in that transfer portal with that money. Let's see if Auburn can get it wrapped up with Byron Brown today. It would be a very, very bad look for Alex Golesh if he doesn't get his quarterback that he has coached over the past several years in the boat. I don't expect that to happen. That would be a very, very it would just be a terrible look. It kind of would be a disaster, to be honest with you. So don't expect that to happen. hopefully we will. Let's see. Brett says Brown is on his way now. Should be in town this afternoon. Good deal. Miami is always looking for a 1-year dude. Yeah, for sure. They are. Miami's definitely got a recipe. Brad says NACO's crystal ball Brown to AU for whatever it's worth. Seems to be a foregone conclusion already. Yeah. I mean, it's been the worst kept secret in the world, Brad. But still, it's one of them things where until it's all signed and you get it across the finish line, in today's day and age of college football, there's always that little chance. And sometimes it feels like Auburn, that little chance takes precedent. It actually feels like that little chance somehow plays out, whether it be on the field or off the field. But yeah, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if Byron Brown does not get named over the next 24 to 40 hours. He has not announced that he is coming to Auburn. Long ways away. So you said you subscribed today, a live tree. You subscribed today, right? So you're new to the show. My prediction for the 2026 season will not come out until like a week before the season. So get with me late August and we'll get that prediction out. But I usually put it out 7 to 10 days. I got to hear fall camp intel, all that kind of stuff. Definitely not going to do it before the roster's even set, buddy. And the other teams, like, I don't know what's LSU going to look like? What's Florida going to look like? What's Ole Miss going to look like? They're having a great time in the playoff run, and like props to them. They deserve it. They earned it. That was a fantastic game the other night. But what do they look like? The further this season goes, the longer their coaches that are going to be at LSU, that whole situation drags on. We're all Portland right now, right? Like, so there's the Ole Miss situation, very, very fascinating. I just have no idea what Auburn's going to look like or what a lot of the teams on this show or on the schedule are going to look like. Thomas hit us with a go Bolts. Bolts got puck dropped today, baby, at 3 o'clock. Yeah, I got a busy day, man. I got a busy day. Auburn, Georgia tipping off in an hour and a half in a big-time basketball matchup. Bolts got a game in San Jose, and my Buccaneers are playing for the NFC South title versus the Carolina Panthers at 3:30. And then some of you guys are big Falcons fans, and y'all could ruin that whole thing for the Bucks tomorrow. Anyway, if you win, ultimately I kind of want Todd Bowles out, so I don't really care what happens today. But this is not a Buccaneers discussion. But I will say, if I end the football season with Hugh Freeze gone from my college team and Todd Bowles gone from my pro team, then hey, it was a sacrifice that had to be made. Brett says Ghost of Brett always gonna throw in for his stars there. Go Falcons. Yeah, listen. Falcons, are the Falcons bringing back Raheem Morris? Wouldn't that be something? Pete Golden has a better record than Lane Kiffin. It's so crazy, man. It's like you build the program up to this point, and now they're having this success that, like, you built them up to. It's just, I don't know. Tell me if y'all agree with this before we get out of here. Off topic from Auburn. But does Lane Kiffin have to at least get as far as Ole Miss has got now at LSU where it's a failure? So, like, they're in the semifinals now. So, like, I look at it and I'm saying, okay, Ole Miss got to the semis now. And kind of based off the way Lane did it, I look at it and I say, Lane, you have to get Ole Miss, you have to at least get LSU to the semis, or you're going to look like a good, not necessarily next year, but like he can't get fired or leave and go somewhere else without getting LSU as far as Ole Miss went when he dipped on them. Is that a crazy line of thinking? Like, every game, in my opinion, every game that Ole Miss wins just puts more pressure on what he has to do at LSU, is what I'm saying. So discussion going on in the chat about Raheem Morris. Hey, I've already lived that life. So good luck to you guys. All right, man, that's gonna wrap it up for this episode, man. Like the video, sub to the channel, man. We will be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Hopefully with tons of reaction to brand new players that want to be Auburn Tigers. Like my guy Brett said earlier in the comment section, enough with the people that don't want to be at Auburn. We want to talk about the people that want to be at Auburn. And those are the guys that we want to talk about and we look forward to having. So like the video, sub to the channel. We'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. right here on the Uptempo Podcast. Members, stay tuned. Got some stuff coming out for y'all this afternoon. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good Saturday. War damn Eagle.